right, this is the old wire. That's the connections to and from the output stuff in the cab, the connections in the cab. And this is where the jacket ended, where my thumb is. And there are these scorch marks on these wires. Let's look at this one that started off life as a white wire or beige wire. And aside from the heat here at the connection, it had a lot of heat here where all the cables were bundled up. And I don't see a source of that, but something was amiss. So I have stripped back the jacket. I'm going to get fresh wire used for all the connections there. And I'll redo the same thing at the plug end as well. And I don't know what the cause of that was, but the HT center tap connection is made to ground through this long run to the speaker cab and back. And so there's quite a bit of current, even though they double up the two wires that are used for grounds, that are these two. There's quite a bit of current there. If you had a bad rectifier tube, maybe it spiked. Hard to say. It's not my favorite way to connect an amplifier to a cabinet. They did it so that the amp would not power on unless the speaker cabinet is attached. You know, that's laudable. So you cannot run it without a speaker load, and you have to use their speaker load specifically. But definitely has this drawback. Let me get this all cleaned up and rebuilt. All right, now without the scorched bits of wire, that's much more secure. I'll keep an eye on that. I don't think it's likely to discolor anytime soon, but you know, this amp is 61, 62 years old now, 62 years old. So that's a lot of times for small things to add up as far as any surges in the HT supply. I'm going to turn my attention to the cabinet now and the speaker. Note, remove this panel if amplifier is used for a string bass with Ampeg pickup. This is from 1960, and Ampeg used to sell a add-on pickup for upright bass. And this panel right here and this one on the other side come off. They're short panels, and it ports the cab for a different low-end response. And that would be interesting to play with sometime. Just to see how it affects the sound for electric bass. But it's kind of cool, the things you see in these. There's a tag there. Let me get this set up on the tripod to show you the next stuff I'm going to do. Before I redo the plug end and hook this up, I want to make sure that the speaker is actually good. Make sure that it measures 8 ohms. Now it's down to 5.8. Starts at 7 and goes down to about 5.8. The reason it doesn't measure 8 ohms is 8 ohms is a nominal impedance at a given frequency, and the meter often measures at a different frequency. Pretty much if you measure between 5 and 8 ohms, it's an 8 ohm speaker. If you measure between, say, 10 and 15, 16 ohms, it's a 16 ohm speaker, et cetera, et cetera. It always measures a little bit lower than what the nominal impedance is. You know, if it measured 4, it'd be a 4 ohm speaker, not an 8 ohm speaker measuring low typically. The foam that used to be here to slightly dampen the vibration between the top and the bottom of the cabinet is pretty degraded, but the chassis itself kind of floats, is kind of suspended, so I'm not too worried about that. I can't really show this, but it's not very exciting. I've checked the wiring on the plug side. It looks good, but I am going to confirm that I have the same impedance measured at pins 1 and 3 as I did at the speaker itself. So let me do that real quick, if I can. Let's see, where's 1? So that should be that. Yeah, it's a little bit tricky to do because it's a male set of male pins. so the meter doesn't want to stick on it. All right, let me show you the things I have fished out of this cabinet that will no longer be rattling around inside. And I need to do a looky-loo to see where these things used to be. So I've got 2 star washers and a flat washer. Those probably used to be in use at some point in the last 62 years. Got a fuse holder cap, looks like. The amp is not missing one, but maybe at some point in the past it was. And I've got a nice collection of Sun Studios picks for my own personal use. The amp will sound better without these things vibrating around. And again, I will find out if there are any screws that used to have tooth washers which no longer do. I can't see all of them very easily without removing the speaker. And I'd rather not, but I'm willing to if that's what's necessary. But anyway, let me redo the connections on the cable that go to the jack over here, and we'll see how the whole thing sounds and if the speaker's any damn good. I'm not going to show the whole process. I'm not going to show the whole process here because it'd be very tedious, but this is the old length, and it's going to be much shorter, so I'll have fresh jacket to catch. And so I've stripped the jacket off this fresh section of wire before I put it through the hole and twist it. I want to tin the end of it so the strands don't come loose. Just kind of tinning the very end will hold them together so they won't splay out everywhere once I wrap them around the connection where they need to go, in this case right here. So I'll show the after. All right, then it's all done up. I kept the wires twisted inside as well for additional strain relief. So when I'm 100% sure this is all working, this will get snapped back on and the strain relief will catch a new section of wire that won't be degrading. So let me put all this together, see what it's sounding like. All right, we're going to test this thing now that it's been connected to the cabinet correctly. And I've got a 57 on the 15-inch speaker. Not everyone's first choice for a bass mic, but you'd be surprised how well it can do. Remember, a B-15 does not pick up the fundamental of a bass, really. That's what a DI provides. The B-15 is getting everything from the first octave up, and your ear fills in the rest. But that's a long subject for a different video. All right, with no volumes up, there's a buzz, as if there's a ground issue. I didn't hear this as much yesterday when it was on the bench, but I'm certainly hearing it now. I'm using my Squier P bass with a Fralin in it, so it's real pickups and pots in a fairly cheap bass, and I'm not here to wow you with my playing. I'm here to use it basically as a signal generator to see what problems, if any, the amp has besides that buzz. So with the volume off on the bass, let me bring the channel volume up. White noise, but no increase in the buzz. That's good. Same for volume 2. Volume 2 seems to have a lot less gain than volume 1, channel 2. So the white noise becomes apparent at 8 on the volume for channel 2. And the white noise becomes apparent at 6.5 on channel 1. So let's start right here at 7. I'm putting the indent right at the bottom of the 7. I've got the tone stack flat. These early 60s have a shared tone stack. Later ones have individual tone stacks per channel. P bass, volume and treble all the way up, volume and tone. That sounds pretty good. Let me back the treble down and the bass up a bit, which is usually a nicer sound, a little rounder for a B-15. I'm getting a little bit of a mechanical acoustic buzz on that D. But it doesn't seem to be coming through the speaker. Let me turn the volume up a bit more. All right, that acoustic mechanical vibration is bothering me. Something I'll talk to the owner about, whether he wants me to fix it. This cabinet has this top panel, which clamps on, and this top panel also inverts and lets you hide this for transport. And then between this panel and the little mini partial cab that holds the chassis, there are 4 screws that are supposed to give isolation and vibration mounts, and all 4 of them in this amp are damaged. They're all at extreme angles. So I think there's a lot of extra coupling here that should not be there. Also, this chassis is not screwed into the cabinet, so there could be some extra vibration there. All right, so let's see what channel 2 is sounding like. Going by the white noise, it should be a little bit less output than channel 1. That'll come down to should be most likely just the strengths of the triode in V1, just not being equal. The channels are identical. That C is fine now. Sure wasn't fine a minute ago. Try something. Go back to channel 1 for a little bit, just play a little bit just to kill some time. Now let's go back to channel 2 and see if that gronk returns on that C. Yeah, it had built up a little and then went away. And that could be a grid building up voltage that dissipates once you play through it. It could just be a bad tube. But that's an interesting discovery. Either way, between that intermittent nastiness on channel 2 and the overall lower gain of channel 2, I think it's definitely time to at least change out that first 6SL7 preamp tube. Need to practice my mutes, my rest strokes. Sorry, Andy. But I think aside from that buzz, which is going to be ground related, the uneven gain between the channels and the intermittent noise on channel 2, that's going to be a tube. And the remaining thing is just acoustically the vibration and the coupling. And I would like to resolve that. I'll check and see if those specialty parts are available. Sometimes some of those specialty parts that Ampeg used are available from places like McMaster Car under different names for much lower prices. But it's sounding very promising at this point. All those little buzzes I just heard there seem to be mechanical, so not electronic. I'll know more once I hear the playback.